Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, Andrew Bartolotta.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, where we bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and today we're honored to have Dr. Allison Quintanilla Plattsmier, Executive Director of Empowering Neighborhood Partnerships, also known as ENP, joining us. And ENP plays a crucial role in the Edgehill community by addressing challenges such as equity, education, jobs, and safety. Today, Dr. Plattsmier will share the incredible work ENP is doing to strengthen communities and improve the lives of residents through innovative and impactful programs. Dr. Plattsmier, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Okay, let's start off by telling our audience about the origins of Empowering Neighborhood Partnerships and how the organization's mission has really evolved over the years.
Yeah, so ENP was originally started as Edgehill Neighborhood Partnership in 2008. So we were started out of Edgehill United Methodist Church with a motto of neighbors doing what neighbors do. So basically, we would conduct neighborhood needs assessments and let the neighbors drive what kind of programming they need and want. And so that led to the creation of 3 programs: our FreeStore, which started in 2011, which was an opportunity for residents to get items that typically aren't covered by food stamps. And then that's kind of evolved over time as well. The Spot, which started out as a space for young women after school to create good relationships with mentors and learn about healthy relationships, learn about college and graduation. And then that has since expanded to 5th to 12th grade and boys and girls, or all genders really. And then affordable housing advocacy in 2018. So as Edgehill has been rapidly gentrifying, we have become the affordable housing subzone captains of the Promise Zone. So we participate in the planning process. We help negotiate community benefits agreements and really try to strive for inclusion of affordable housing in every new development that's coming throughout the Edgehill community. In 2023, we changed to Empowering Neighborhood Partnerships because a lot of our residents have been pushed out. Our physical headquarters has even been pushed out of Edgehill because of the gentrification. And so we're technically 8 minutes outside of Edgehill now. So even though about 70% of our residents are still coming to our location, we've picked up a lot of people from the Nolensville corridor and a lot of the immigrant and refugee population as well. And so we embrace this new name to reflect that expanded scope.
Well, I'm glad that you were still able to keep sort of the acronym, and really at the basis, when you're changing your name, you're really advancing the empowerment and the advocacy that you're able to do across neighborhoods as you empower them. So Empowering Neighborhood Partnerships to me is a beautiful name for really what you're doing at the helm. You talked about some of your key programs in the Housing Advocacy Initiative. Why or how does this initiative really contribute to the mission of building a more vibrant community?
Yeah, so I mean, housing is really at the forefront of everybody's stability, right? So in addition to our name change, we looked at our model. And so we moved towards a more collective impact model for poverty alleviation. So looking at food security and resource security, education, workforce development, and affordable housing, and how those 4 things work together to help lift people out of poverty. And housing is one of the key aspects, right? So when you don't have stable housing, it's difficult to get to a job. It's difficult to, get to school because that's one of your primary needs. That's why places like Safe Haven have the housing first model, right? You have to get housing before you can get on your feet in any other way. And right now, even if you have housing, most of our residents are spending more than 50% of their disposable income on housing, which is just ridiculous. In Edgehill alone, 40% of the residents live below the poverty line. So to have the median home price be $600,000, like it's just not congruent with what the neighborhood needs to be able to live a sustainable life. And so in addition to one, ensuring that housing affordability and availability and inventory, we're also looking at those community benefits pieces. So as developers are coming in, how are they giving back to the community and the resources that we so desperately need? So one of those things for Edgehill in particular has been a grocery store. Edgehill is a food desert and a food swamp. So there's no grocery store in the Edgehill proper. And then there's an abundance of fast food restaurants. And so being able to give people an option to find high quality produce and affordable high quality produce is very important. And so there was one developer that was considering putting in a grocery store, but it was going to be like a 1,200 square foot Sprouts. And it's like, okay, that's not going to be accessible for the majority of, you know, the Edgehill neighborhoods. So I would say for the affordable housing advocacy, it's one, preserving that inventory of affordable housing and increasing it, finding the sweet spot of affordability, and then negotiating those community benefits and holding developers accountable for the community benefits that they've agreed to provide. So like some developers may say, you know, we're going to provide 400 units, but then when they actually get into the nitty gritty of how they're going to do it, it's not an integrated, like mixed income community. For example, there was one development where they were going to have 4 towers and they wanted to put all of the affordable housing in one tower of the development. It's like, no, like you're basically creating concentrated poverty. The point of having a multi-income mixed development is to create that sense of community and have all of the residents kind of intermingled. But they were trying to get all of the subsidies first and then use that to, you know, finance the rest of the project. And so being able to really, you know, challenge developers and say, no, like that's not how you're going to be able to best serve the community, I think is an important role that we play.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such an important role. And I imagine that, of course, gentrification and Nashville have a sort of long history now for several decades as economic development is just driving and they are just building and building across Nashville. But it's no stranger to some other large cities as well. And I can imagine that for those cities that don't have a organization like ENP, I mean, they're basically at the mercy of whoever comes in and decides to build these ginormous towers and just sort of like move people out. So the work that ENP is doing is monumental because you have these families that have been in these neighborhoods for generations, and then just because there is uh, ease of moving bulldozers in and creating these large multifamily places and businesses doesn't mean that you're not affecting generations worth of people that have made this community their home. And so I think that's such an important part of the affordable housing advocacy that ENP is doing. I mean, that's an entire nonprofit in itself. But in addition to that, you have these additional programs. You mentioned the Spot, which sounds like an incredible initiative. Talk about how it helps students grow both emotionally and academically.
Yeah, so the Spot is our after school program. So it typically runs Monday through Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. And we used to have a community-based location. The last 2 years, we've been doing school-based locations, but we're hoping to move back to a community-based location because it was kind of this home away from home for students, right? It was a place that they could come after school, cook a meal, really build community. They could decorate the space like they wanted. But really, it's that a lot of the youth in the neighborhood, you know, they have adverse childhood experiences. They may have parents that are dealing with significant mental health struggles or just the stress of poverty and haven't been able to be as present parent figures as they need. And so being able to connect them with mentors and other trusted adults helps them to create some of those relationships and be able to foster some of that more secure attachment that they may be missing in their home life. And then on the emotional intelligence side, when you have gone through a lot of adverse childhood experiences, it can be really difficult to be able to identify your emotions. You may be a lot more reactive. you may struggle with focusing at school because you're, just have a lot of internal turmoil. And so being able to talk to them about things like conflict management, about helping to de-escalate when you're feeling angry, because that leads to a lot of discipline issues at school as well. And then if there's a discipline issue, then they're pulled out of school, which affects them academically. So being able to really show them some of those like emotional regulation pieces, what healthy relationships look like, again, if they grew up in a household where maybe there was not the healthiest relationships as examples, they're going to get into relationships like that. And so part of the neighborhood needs assessment that led to the spot was a lot of teen pregnancies, a lot of youth that their boyfriends were abusive. And so being able to help them, okay, like what is a healthy relationship? What does safe sexual practices look like? Whether that's abstinence or protection, and really just letting them have all those options, because I think a lot of times they just don't have the information. They don't have people that they can go to trust and have those kind of safe conversations with. And then on the academic side, we do tutoring as well. So the mentors not only provide them with that emotional support, but also like homework support. And as we have moved into the new community where we have a lot more refugees, we've been working with them on like English. And so a lot of them have moved from, maybe failing English to suddenly, having a B or an A, because they're just not able to get the one-on-one time and attention during the school day. And they're just getting further and further behind throughout the school year. And so when they're participating in this spot, they're getting that extra time to really have kind of one-on-one, here's the things that I'm struggling with. And we found that to be really monumentally life-changing for them.
It's really cool to see all of the work that you were doing, not only from the housing advocacy, but now really into the educational piece and how you can help. And so one of the another program and initiative is the FreeStore, which offers more than just material goods. It really fosters a sense of community. Tell us how that program strengthens neighborly relationships.
A big piece of the FreeStore is our community breakfast. So at the beginning of the FreeStore, there's a big breakfast where all the neighbors can sit and have a meal while they're waiting to go shop. And that creates an opportunity for a lot of communities that might have not met each other before to get to speak to each other while they're waiting. So again, we have like a bunch of different kind of pockets of communities throughout the Nolensville corridor that the FreeStore is just like their place where they meet up. And so they get the opportunity to exchange ideas, share about their cultures, talk about the unique challenges they're having within their neighborhood or subdivision. And so we found that to be a really nice kind of just meeting space and ability to foster new connections. And as since there are similar challenges amongst the shoppers, they might be able to say, hey, I've been struggling, or I'm looking for a job, do you know a new place? And just building those connections. One of the things that we've noticed, United Way talks about the 2-gen approach. And one of the big things in poverty alleviation is building a social network and a social fabric.
You all are really doing amazing work. It's so cool to see that there's an organization that is not only driven by collective impact, but is really trying to be that hub for those that need help. So kudos to y'all there. What puts a smile on your face when you look at the work that you and your team of volunteers are doing every day?
I mean, we have seen just like some transformative life changes for some of our shoppers. So we have a shopper that's been with us for 12 years, and she just recently got a really great financial opportunity to where she's like, I'm going to be set for the next 10, 15 years. And I would like to pay it back to the FreeStore and be able to help people that are in the same situation that I am. I think that's one thing that's really nice too, is that a lot of our shoppers also volunteer. It's a great community of both receiving and giving back. And then on the youth side, I mean, we've had some youth that have been employed through our career exploration program over the last couple years. So they were like an experienced worker, and now they're an intern, and then they're applying to come back and be an employee with us. And so really seeing that growth of them over 10 years and building their families has been just amazing. So being able to see that kind of long-term impact of our programs and how it is making a difference in the cycle for these families puts a smile on my face for sure.
Where can people go to learn more about the impactful work of empowering neighborhood partnerships?
Our website is enptn.org. So we have all of our information about our programs there. You can also find us on Hands On Nashville. And then we're on Facebook and Instagram as Empowering Neighborhood Partnerships.
Dr. Plattsmier, it's clear that your organization is making a tremendous difference in the Edgehill community and beyond. Thanks for powering the good in our community.
Thank you.